Okay. Thank you all so much for making the time to join us on a Wednesday. My name is Luma. I am VP, I am the Vice President of Diversity in Dentistry, and I'm also the committee chair for the programming committee. Um, to me, there is a lot of barriers that is stopping underrepresented minorities in applying to dental school or even thinking about dentistry as a career. And a big barrier is the cost that is associated with just even thinking about dental school cost a lot. The process of applying and getting accepted and doing everything that is needed for you to get into dental school cost a lot. So last month we talked about setting your goals and making your plan. But if you set your goals, you can have the best laid plans or the best laid goals. But especially in such a society as we are in, or in a career that we are, it takes a lot of money. Last year, it was very eye-opening when we had our session about budgeting for dental school, because then we found out that if you're being in the safe zone, which for most people is applying to 8 to 10 dental schools, if you're trying to be in the safe zone, that is going to cost you about $10,000. And then 1 year later, we try to find those numbers again, and now it's about 13,000. I did put it together and to give you kind of a breakdown. What I will ask for you, if you are with us or if you are watching this later on when we do post it to our social media and YouTube, get a piece of paper, highlight the things that you know that you're going to need, because these are the non-negotiables. These are things that you will have to get. Highlight the things that you're going to have to pay for, and figure and start thinking about what this session is aimed at, is to talk with other people that have gone through what they used, what worked, and how to find out how much it's going to cost you. So if I can just bring up my most recent research. Can everyone see my screen? And while I bring that up, I would just like to appreciate our founder, Dr. Laila. She's on the call. She's off her video right now, but I don't know how she does it, but she makes a time to be here for everything. I don't take that lightly. I also want to thank Dr. Sergey. Dr. Sergey, if you can get off mute, if you can say hi, but she's tuning in all the way from Alaska and she has unfailingly showed up for everything. This is just to let you know there are people you don't know, people you've not met that are rooting for you and will be willing to support you. Dr. Susan, say hi, please.
Paka. Paka means hello in my language.
Hi. I don't know how she's from Alaska, went to school, dental school in Arizona, and then chose to go back. She experienced good weather and went back.
You acclimate. It's all good. Wherever you're chosen for your school, that's your dream school, right? And
Yes.
pretty much you make it work. Whether or not it difference in weather or
Mhm.
environment, you do whatever you need to do because that's your school that accepted you and that's your dream.
So we will have an upcoming session about like narrowing down your school list, because there were 66 schools. I think they've had 5 new ones. There are about 73 schools right now. Um, when it comes down to it, the best dental school is the one you get into. There are other things to consider, but the best dental school is the one you get into. But while you're planning for this, just pay attention, take notes. So the quote of the day, I usually like to start with a quote: failing to plan is planning to fail. I don't remember who said it, but I remember it. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So we started off with setting your goals for the year. The next thing is to figure out how, because remember, they're supposed to be smart, achievable, measurable, and you should have a plan on how you plan on achieving them. So if you could plan and think about the money part, because these are all the things you have to pay for. You need the study materials for the DAT. It depends on how you study best, but the DAT is like, there is like a cut-off for DAT. It is an essential part of your application, but it's not the only part. But if you find yourself lacking in other areas, it's great to have a great DAT score. You have to pay for the registration for the DAT. As I mentioned, these are the non-negotiables, things that you have to pay for regardless. You have to pay for the registration cost. You have to pay for the I can never say this right, AADSAS. You have to pay for that application cost. And then the supplemental application cost. And then for your interviews. And then when you do get accepted, there is a cost that comes with that. And then relocation and dental school prep. When you think about it, like when you start planning about applying, it is very easy to miss some of this cost. And the most painful part is actually getting that opportunity and not having, especially for someone like Isaiah who know, especially when you have that 30 days to come up with your deposit and you're scrambling for it. If it's possible, have that on hand. So for the study materials, when I say the most basic plans, these are their 90-day plans. For 90 days full access. For GAT Bootcamp, this is the cheapest. It is $4.99. For the booster, it is $3.99, and that is with their $100 off. That is expiring this month. But if you're buying it this February 2024, it is $399. A majority of the people I talk to use iPrep. iPrep, their most basic plan, which is for 8 weeks, is $1,700, $1,700. There are DAT Destroyer books. I use DAT Destroyer. It is way harder than the DAT itself, but it prepped me. I feel like it was a good prep for me. We do have a discount code with Diversity in Dentistry for DAT Destroyer, but even with that, their cheapest book is $120. If you want to buy the book that has all these sections in it, you're looking at least $200. But if you think about this, if you're keeping score just for the study material, for an efficient study material, that will give you like almost like real life practice questions. You're looking at least 400. Keep that number. And then you now have the cost for taking the DATs. Right now, it costs $525 to register to take the DAT. I'm showing my age, but the first time I took the DAT in 2011, it was $200. I think 215. The idea that in about a little over 10 years, it has more than doubled is who. But while you think of registering for your DATs, understand as well that they might not always have availability where you are. You have to go take it at the Prometric Center. They might not always have ability where you are. Most Prometric centers, I took mine in Dallas. The Prometric Center is like downtown Dallas, like right there on the I-5, on the 75 exchange. I lived in Forney. There was no way I was going to get up in the morning and make it to downtown in time. So I had to find a place to stay closer to the center because if you can do anything to help yourself reduce your anxiety before the exam. Because if you do it right, you only have to take your DAT once. If you do it right. But then if you're not prepared, if you're not ready, you might have to move your date. And that costs money as well. So if you do it right, if you plan for it perfectly, you might spend 525 and some money to stay closer to the center. But if you're spending $400 for your prep material, if you only study for those 90 days, which might be more because the 6 months with DAT bootcamp is almost 1,000. So if you do the 6 months for 1,000 and your registration for the DAT for 525, and you try to stay closer to the center, you're looking at almost 2,000 just for your prep materials and taking the exam. And then you have the central application system. If you are not familiar with this system, please do go on there. The application season is over. There is nothing you enter on there that will be useful. But help yourself. Do yourself a favor I did not do for myself. Go on there. Look at what the application entails. Look at the type of ACs they're asking about. That way, when you do it, if you do it right, you only have to do it once. But right now, your very first school is going to cost you $264. Each additional school is $115. If you're applying for the safe number of schools, which for most people is 8 to 10, you're looking at $1,300 to apply for 8 to 10 schools. And then if you're like me and cost was a very big factor in that decision, you look at Texas schools. Texas schools are special. They have their own separate application system, but this is the good news. It only costs $200. However, it's $200 for the four Texas schools, but that will be on top of your AAD SAS application. So we are looking at about 1,000 for prep, at about 1,000 for taking the exam, and 1,300 for application itself. But that's not all what you spend for application. You still have the supplemental applications. Almost every school has a supplemental. It depends on the school. It's about 60 to $80. And then there's other services because I remember I had to pay for Casper. I know there's another service as well that you have to pay for. It might only be $12 or $20, but that is still an additional cost. So if you're doing the safe zone, the 8 to 10 schools, you're looking at least 800. I like to err on the side of caution. So you're looking at 800 to $1,000 on top of the $1,000 for preparatory materials, about 1,000 if you want to reduce your anxiety, stay next to the testing center. Make sure you have transport to go there. Make sure you have the transport to go there. And then the supplemental application that costs $60 to $80 per school. And then there is an interview. I interviewed in 2022. No, 2021. Jesus. I interviewed in 2021. It was in the middle of COVID. Half of my interviews were remote. It was such a blessing. If you have to interview in person, which is what most schools are going towards, and if you listen to some of our previous conversations on YouTube, a lot of our administrators, like a lot of our mentors that are administrators, recommend that you do the interview in person. It is an extra expense, but it is much more preferable to get a feel of the environment, to have the people actually see you. There's so many interpersonal cues you can get from in person than you will from virtual. But for that, you need a flight. You need to pay for your hotel. You need to pay to get around when you go there. I know there's some schools that do offer lunch, but there's some schools that don't. So you need to feed yourself because you don't want to be thinking about your stomach grumbling when you're trying to explain why you're a good candidate for that school. So some schools do offer food, but then do understand that most interviews start at 8 a.m. in the morning. So you have to come the day before and then stay overnight and then you're there the whole day. So you need to plan for that. So if you're buying a flight of at least $400 and paying for your hotel for at least $100, and for your transport and miscellaneous, you're looking at another $100. That is $600 per in-person interview. And then imagine if you're doing 10, that is 6,000. If you're doing just 8, that is still a lot. But do think about that cost and figure out how you plan and budget for that. And then when you do get that December 15th, or if they change it back to December 1st, it is like really exciting. Like that call, I think there is a video of me crying online when I get that call. That is a very exciting call to have. But with that call, you've been put on notice. You have 30 days to come up with a deposit. For Texas schools, for some Texas schools, it's as little as $100. But some schools, like some of the schools I got accepted to, it's $1,000. You have 30 days to come up with with $1,000, or you give up your seat. But you do have to have that money because that is how you save your space in that starting class. But at least for this one, that is the one that hopefully you've made up your mind in such a way that you only pay this one once. And then after you've been accepted, hi Isaiah, this is for you. After you have been accepted, if you choose a school that is not, even if it's a local school, it is so much better to study if you're closer to campus. That costs some money, even if you're just backing up your room from your mama's house. It comes with a cost. There is like other deposits that are required because when you do rent that apartment, you have to put down a security deposit. You have to pay something. for most schools have a computer that don't want you to buy or that don't recommend that you buy. They recommend that you buy, but you kind of need to buy it. And for instance, my school, our computer was $2,400. You have to buy your loops. There are some schools that will let you in the sim lab without loops, but believe me, your back will thank you. You need to get loops. There are some cheap loops on Amazon, but if you get those cheap loops, you end up getting like four of them before you graduate. Or you cough up the money, which when I say cough up the money, like the cheapest loop from like our loop fair was 1,500. But you do need the loops because you start in sim lab almost immediately. And then for most schools, you're in scrubs all day, every day. Like that is like your new attire. I live in my scrubs. There are some Saturdays that I mistakenly wake up and wear my scrubs because that is what I wear. But you can get the cheap scrubs and you get several sets while you're in school. Or you can cough up the $6,800 for the thick set that you know you use for the 4 years. But you could get the cheap one for right now and keep buying more. Or you save up and buy the one that you need. Even during dental school, understand that you might not be working. You very likely will not be working. And there are other little costs that might come up. You need to pay for the membership to the organizations that you need to belong to. You need to pay for the conferences that you need. Like the first 2 years, like these have been the fastest years of my life. They go by like so fast. And then you find yourself all day in clinic. Is Do I want to be a general dentist? Do I want to do externships? Do I want to do residency? And just there is like always something that you have to plan for. And if you do start dental school without having that habit of having that budget and making that plan of what is going to be allocated for what, you're going to struggle. And I'm sure the other dentists will share with us that that even continues beyond. Because this one, as overwhelming as it seems, this is the first part. But the part that I'm hoping you take from this is setting that budget and allocating it for the things that are non-negotiable. Because there are some things you can compromise on. You could find a cheaper place to stay. You could only apply to 3 schools. But as I have explained, and I'll keep explaining, if you do it right, you only have to do it once. Because if you only apply to 3 schools trying to save cost and you have to apply again next year, did you really save? But I will have the breakdown available. If you need it, let me know. I don't mind sharing this PowerPoint with you. I don't mind sharing like the budgeting breakdown that I use. But I will stop now and open for discussions. Isaiah, can I pick on you again?
Yeah.
Isaiah? So
Uh-huh.
Isaiah is my new student doctor. And he got into what, 12 schools? He got into, I think he got accepted to 8 schools. Do you mind sharing how you went about doing your budget? And for someone that just recently did it, what do you think worked? What did not work?
Okay. Um, what worked? Like you said, I went into it knowing that I had to get this done the first time. Um, like there was no other option. So when I registered for my DAT, I registered for it before even starting to study because I knew that having that there was gonna like force me to get it done the right way. And that's kinda like the way I went about the entire application process. Like, I started my application in January and then submitted it on the very first day it opened. So I'd say, like, just, like, planning, um, months in advance was, like, huge, I think, for my, I guess, my success. And then just as far as budgeting, I was counting pennies, you know? I knew exactly how much money I could spend every day. Like, I knew I was anticipating what I was gonna make on each paycheck. I was working full time. I also took a gap year, so I wasn't in school while I was able to just focus on saving money and gaining experience in the field. Um, and then, of course, like, my family did support me. Like, my mom went half on me for my DAT. They went half with
Yeah.
me when I had to fly to Augusta for my interview. But I didn't count on that, you know. Um, yeah, I say if you're doing this by yourself, planning is definitely like huge. Planning months in advance. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered everything. And I think for what most people what stops a lot of people, because I did a post back before applying to dental school. So a lot of the people I associated with were older people that had other responsibilities. It it makes it a lot harder to try to like budget and take out the one for dental. Like it is hard to put aside that money for dental school prep when the kids have to go to daycare. Or it is really, really hard trying to put aside money for something or trying to apply to more schools when you have to take off work to go there. Like, because if you think about it, almost everything that you need to do, you're taking off work because most people think it's like easy to do the 200 hours. But how do you do 200 hours during work time if you have to work? Or
Hmm.
or even like now, like because we try to do the planning and the budgeting in the beginning of the year to maybe give you some insights to start planning and budgeting for that once the application opens in June. But how do you plan and budget when you have so many other responsibilities pulling you back? So it has to be, as Isaiah said, it has to be like non-negotiable. This is what I have to do. Count every single penny. Like I remember like last session, the last time we had this, we had Dr. Evan Fry, and he was talking about working multiple jobs, doing like anything that can be done, picking up that extra shift. Because I remember like our post-baccalaureate group, we're like those people in class that are not that don't stand by talking to anybody because we're trying to run to the library to go pick up that extra hour or run to work or do something. It is a huge sacrifice, but it's better to sacrifice now than to have to sacrifice later. Dr. Sergi, any input, suggestions?
Mine was a different boat. I pretty much relied on loans and credit card, and I did whatever I had to do to make it work. So, but thank God, 10 years later, it all worked.
Um,
It all worked good. So,
Yeah. And I don't think enough people talk about having to take loans for this because a lot of our colleagues are people that like a lot of people do not have a backup. Like they are the backup. So you end up already putting yourself in debt before taking on the debt of dental school.
yeah, well, I didn't come from a rich family. I'm from a little Eskimo in the mouth of the Yukon River, where there's 7 kids in the house and a 2-bedroom house. So, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, and then like Isaiah, I'm sure if you've joined like your class group, oh, I'm interested in this because my dad is OMS. I'm interested in this because my mom is author. Like there is like that big divide. Like I always talk about like dentistry is like really very much more like it's very different to me. It's like very different from medicine. I feel like there have been like pipeline programs in medicine, but then in dentistry you still have like the legacy. You have like the legacy people in dentistry, and then you have the ones that had someone like plant that seed in them. I feel like the middle ground is very thin in dentistry, where either you have someone paying off everything for people, or you have people like doing everything by themselves. And especially with because especially like the requirements of like shadowing a dentist specifically, it makes it a lot harder for a lot of people, which is why I am like so grateful that diversity in dentistry gives like those opportunities where you can find someone to shadow that might work with your schedule. Because I know for me, the first time I applied, I did not have that. I'm going to open it for any more questions if anyone has any questions.
Hi, it's me. It's Dr. Haisha. Hi,
Go ahead.
everybody. Well, of course, not quite a question, but just to come in with like, but don't give up
Mhm.
comment, right? We're giving you all this information. Luma, thank you so much for laying it out so clearly, and just seeing the range of costs and things that I'm sure many have not even considered. But I think that is good. Like when you're prepared, then you know what you got to do, and then you go for it. Um, and yes, sometimes there is some debt incurred if you can't budget enough in advance. Of like, if you don't have that assistance, but it's almost still an expectation that there is going to be that debt, but just know that it will be able to be paid off, right?
Yes.
Don't let that scare your long-term goal. It's just that you just have to plan for that, right? The income that you'll make afterwards, you'll be able to pay off. And usually on these student loans, you're going to have that lower interest rate. So honestly, I carried my loans from dental school like it was a second mortgage on my house, and I paid it for like, well, when did I finally pay that thing off? I think it was 25 years. Oh, wait. No, I haven't been out of school that long. Sorry. I came in 2000, so I think I paid it about 15 years out finally. Yeah, like a 15-year long mortgage. But there was no rush. I could have paid it off sooner, but you have to also consider if you're going to be building a practice or other things like that. But yeah, I just want to say, don't let this deter your dreams. That's all I have to say.
And I'll just add to that, like if you have prepared well enough, taking out that, like, because it's almost like betting on yourself. And you should be of the mindset that if you are a betting person, and betting on yourself is one of the options, always bet on yourself. So if it comes down to it, and you know you've prepared properly, it is okay. Because if you're taking out a loan for 13,000 to get into dental school, that's just one semester of dental school at a cheap dental school. Dental school costs a lot. And if you are certain that you have it in you to get accepted, it is a cost that you should be willing to shoulder because you know that the end is way better. And as any dentist will share with you, it is something that you will be able to pay off. Hey, Ashley.
I would also add to just like be very strategic in where you apply.
Mhm.
You should reach out to the schools that you plan on applying to, um, so that you get a feel of exactly what they want from you. And I think if you follow their instructions, your odds of getting at least an interview are pretty high.
True. True.
Oh, that's
Thank
a
Because
good
I would
point.
have
Yeah.
been applying with my top three, and that's $1,000 less I would have had to spend.
Mhm.
So it's also a gamble doing that. But I think if you do what Luma said and do everything you know you need to do, I think it would work out, regardless of how many schools you apply to. Yeah.
hmm And I like how you mentioned that, like call in advance. I think a lot of students don't think they can do that. I mean, they just don't, unless you know. So follow that advice because they will start to know who you are before that application comes through, and they will just, oh yeah, of course, yeah, I know Isaiah. We talked to him, this, that, and the other, and then you're building your cheering squad to be there to advocate for you. And also, a lot of schools have some scholarships that are sometimes not published or not aware of. So, yeah, Ashlyn is asking, how do you go about that? Um, how would you say, Isaiah? So, did you just call the dean of admissions, or sometimes it's on the website too, like to contact them if you have a question, just go through that. Do you have any specific?
Yes.
Right. Mhm.
I I contacted the Office of Admissions at pretty much all the schools that I was interested in to see if I could set up an advising meeting with someone there.
Mhm.
And I only applied to schools where I was able to have a face-to-face conversation with someone in the admissions office who was able to give me feedback on my application,
And
and that worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the admissions office because most people are thinking, oh, I should try to get a hold of the dean, but then I contact those admissions offices because um, like as I always joke, your interview starts from the time you walk through the door, like those ladies handing out your those people handing out your folder and name tag, like those are the people that will remember. But just reach out to them. A good thing, especially this early, is like be like this as Isaiah shared, ask for like an admissions advising meeting. Or if not, like you could be like, this is my resume and my transcript. I'm just trying to see how I stack up with your incoming students. I'm really interested in coming to your school. What do you think I have to do? This is what I have done. That way, it doesn't just seem as if you're like reaching, like make it seem as if it's like mutual. This is what I have done. I'm interested in your school. What can I do to be a better candidate for your school?
Mhm.
Not in those words, but that should be the gist. Like, this is what I have done. This is what I am interested in. Or just something like, I see your school is interested in, a lot of schools are now doing the public health certificate. I see your school is doing public health certificate, doing yada, 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 that I am very interested in. I would like to be, I am considering applying for this school. What can I do to make myself a better candidate?
Mhm.
But any
Yeah.
contact information you see. And then the one that I learned later on, look at the social media. Like our school's admissions office has social Instagram page, Facebook page, all of that. Look at the social media. You can easily pick out who is who is who from there and reach out to them. I will say they put up a lot of, like, I know we have like SNDA impression days. If you're really interested in that school, especially if it's local, go to that impression day. Go
Yeah.
there because you usually have someone from admissions there. It is not so much about seeing a day in a life because believe me, every day is different. But there is always someone from admissions there. And it's not like to go there and show out, but go there and stand out in a way that they'll remember you. Be the
Mhm.
one wanting to help, be the one inquisitive, be the one that has some history about the school. Because there's some people that will come for impressions day and asking stuff that is obvious on the website. If you're asking questions about like their conversion to digital, how much time they spend on a certain unit, like have some background information, that way you stand out, not that you're showing out. But there will always be someone from admissions there. If you can meet them in person, find an impressions day. If you cannot meet them in person, do send out that email to
Mhm.
ask to talk to an advisor because those services are there, but not enough people use them.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's probably a little bit too late for some of the summer programs for this
Mhm.
summer because they usually close in February, but check it out. Yeah, if you can get involved in any of the summer programs, the SHIP program, yes, definitely impression days, see whatever give kids a smile thing events that they might have at the dental
Mhm.
school. Because I want to state that it doesn't really matter if you don't have an appointment with the dean of admissions. The
Mhm.
admission is an admissions committee.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of faculty members and some dental students. So you may unknowingly realize that you're interacting with somebody on the admissions committee. And if they're not on there, they know someone who is.
Mhm.
So again, just getting your face known, getting your name recognized by being there often, and it's going to be so helpful. So yeah, I just kind of act like this is the school, and you let them know why they want you to be there. Share your energy and show your kindness, and from everyone working, not just the faculty, the staff members checking in those patients, and volunteers are at the events. So I think
Mhm.
that, and then write those thank you cards.
Yes. Yes. Have the thank you cards with you. Do not
Yes.
be home and mail them. Have those thank you cards there. Like have your thank you cards with you. The only thing you're adding on that thank you card is the person's name. Have the
Mhm.
cards with you. That
And
way, as you turn around, you hand those cards. Don't go home and mail them because you might not have the right contact information. But on that day, give your thank you cards.
yeah.
Does that answer your question, Jennifer? Because she was asking what kinds of questions to ask. Jennifer? Okay.
Yes.
Another.
The chat. Well, while you're looking for the question, if you happen to be in the school, I love how you said bring those thank you cards. You have to befriend the gatekeeper. So if you do want to get a thank you to someone in the dean's office, you just butter them up, and it's better than it going through the mailroom, because they don't know who this card is from and may sit in a pile. But if you go back and he's like, oh, thank you so much. You just left the event. And I just want to really make sure Dr. So-and-so knows how much I appreciate the time they spent with me. Would you mind just personally giving this to him? It's just a thank you, and give it to, the administrative assistant at that desk. Like, you're more likely to get that card to them. It will make a difference when those applications are coming through.
So yeah, this will be a perfect time for Dr. Miriam to give her spiel, because she's like perfect at coming up with
It's a solid
she's
difference.
she's perfect. But then, like, that is like the gist. Like, if you have it with you, then that would be the most memorable way for them to know you were like prepared. And especially if you could like highlight the one thing that was mentioned, or the one topic that y'all stayed on, or the
Mhm.
one topic that you said were passionate about, do have that ready.
Yeah, and I saw Ashlyn, sorry, had asked about DAT study tips. We're gonna webinar next month
Yes.
specifically.
And I
Right.
do apologize, because that was what was on the plan for today, but we've moved it to next month. However, if I can just throw in that, if you're working full-time and studying for the DAT, congratulations, you have 2 full-time jobs. because the material is a lot. You have 2 full-time jobs. And if you're a parent as well, you just got 3. But it is important to understand that the success on the DAT is a lot of repetition. Even if you cannot study that day, even if you cannot put in the amount of hours you wanted to put in that day, answer 10 questions. I make it in such a way that you make that determined effort to always do something towards studying for the DAT. I'm not saying that you should not sleep. I'm saying that spend enough time on that studying to make sure you achieve what you want. When we had our goal setting workshop, one of the mentees was like, I'm aiming for a 30. And I'm like, yes. But if you're aiming for the 30, you have to study for the 30, because it is possible. But are you willing to put in that time to study for a 30? Even if you are just looking at 10 questions a day. If you have booster bootcamp, you have that 10 question a day. If you have not bought it yet, there is a lot of free 10 questions a day from almost all of these services. Go to those 10 questions. Do at least a little bit each day. That way, when you're finally dedicating that time to study, you're not starting from scratch. Because starting from scratch is a very hard place to start from. And working full time is draining. But if I will share with you, there is a lot of people that have done it. And if there's something that you can do, bet on yourself and you can do it. Bet a little bit at a time. I'm African. There is a common African what do you call them, idioms? Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But you still eat that elephant, but it's just one bite at a time. So a little effort, little steps, little steps, little steps. If you can bet on yourself like Isaiah, you can register for the exam before you start studying. And it's okay to not be able to bet on yourself to study and think you're ready before you register for it. But let us.
That applies to on your saving.
Mhm,
Now that you know the big picture number,
mhm.
decide, like, how many schools could you reasonably apply to, and then reverse engineer what you need to save with how much time you have.
Yeah.
And then also put into, well, I can get this much amount from family, friends, or whatever, GoFundMe. And this much I have in savings, if any. I didn't have any savings. I might hold dental education, nothing from my parents at all. It was all loans. This is all loans. I had a lot. And I had loans from undergrad too. So it got paid off. But you just can't let that wear you down.
Yeah.
And then, so after you find out the gifts you can get, um, uh, and look at how much loans you need to ask for. But at all costs, I mean, just try your best. I mean, I'm sure I ran up my credit card as well, but just look at those interest rates of either getting a loan versus putting on a credit card. But once you start making yourself familiar with the schools and find out about the scholarships they have available, that will help. And stay involved with us. We're raising money so that we can offer scholarships to our our mentees who come through. And there's other nonprofits to just make sure you're following and apply to any scholarship you can.
Like I was that desperate that I was on bold.org, fastweb.org, like I was applying for anything that is applicable to. And even after you do get in, like stay on those things. Like if you see the name scholarship somewhere, apply. Like apply for anything that you can apply to. And I know for a lot of people, there's like that hesitation of like imposter syndrome is not only about like academics. Like half the time you see like that ad and you're like, oh, I don't count. But as a lot of people will share, many people say that too, they reduce the competition. So like apply for like everything that you see, apply. And then apply yourself. Because as I will continue to say, if you do it right, you only have to do it once. And I should know, I took the DATs 3 times. But if you do it right, you only have to do it once. But when we do have the recording from the previous session we had for studying for the DATs, if you have the time, go back and watch it and see if there is like a lot of information that was shared that might be beneficial. But if you do have the time, go back to YouTube and watch the recording again. We will have that next month because we're just trying to make it like the best one that we can have, and we do understand how important that is. And we felt like there was not enough we felt like we needed some more time to make it a better session for the DAT process. However, we also have a previous session about like narrowing down your school list, because as Zaire can testify, it is more grueling than you think. Like, okay, is this where I want to be for the next 4 years? Do I feel like I'm going to get from this what I need? I will always say the best dental school in the country, like the best dental school is the one you do go to. However, before you get yourself to that point, there is a lot to think about. We do have a session on it. Because I think then we have the DATs, we have narrowing down your school list, and then we have personal statement that we're trying to do before applications open in June. But for all of those, even if you're interested in it, you can go look at what we talked about the previous times. But the coming up with the money part, because for me, they coming when it comes to money and loans, but but it is like really important to know what lies ahead. That way you can plan for it. So that is about an average of what it costs. It could cost more, it could cost less, but then regardless of how much it costs, if you do it right, you only have to do it this one time. And I'm sure anyone that got in can share the relief with you of doing it this one and done. But planning for it, making sure you have your rich schools and your short schools and all of that. But if you are thinking about how I'm going to choose if I'm applying for 10 or 8, we had a session where someone applied for 22, God bless them. They didn't get in, but 22 schools. I was just thinking about the money. But if it is an issue of cost, because I know for a lot of us it's an issue of cost, it is important to have this in advance. That way you can start planning for it. And as I explained, while you're in dental school as well, it will have to be something that you have to plan every year, because you get this fixed amount in your loan if you're trying to be conservative. And that is what you have to live off of for 12 months. Like 12 months in advance, you know, this is all what I have. And it is similar as well when you start working, because early career has its limitations. If this is what you're going to have to manage off of. So if you can set your goals, make the plan on how to achieve it, and understand how you're going to handle the money for it. Because many people, I'm sure many of you know, like that rich dentist. The lifestyle and the things that come along with being a dentist, it is important to understand how you manage your money before you get there. Because if for nothing, think of your loans that you have to pay back. If for nothing. I'm just checking if anyone has any other questions. We still have about 10 minutes left. If anyone has any other questions. Leila is just like in her thought bubble right now.
I was just gonna ask where they were in the journey. They wanted to share.
I'll
Anyone
go
want
ahead.
to share?
Mhm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, hey, I'm gonna put my camera on so you can see me.
But look
Yeah.
at
Okay. Hey
Wow.
y'all, my name is Ashlyn. So right now in my journey, I'm currently working full time. I did a post-bac at Duke School of Medicine. And I graduated in 2022. So I guess it's my gap year, and I've been really teeter-tottering between if I really want to keep studying with DH booster, or do I want to pause it and take one more gap year? And I kind of just, I'm okay. I see you saying no. I'm really wanting some feedback because I don't think I have a lot of dental guidance. Because I recently made up my mind and was like, no, I'm going to dental school. Before I wanted to go to med, and I changed my mind. So right now, I literally was in my head yesterday. I'm like, pause it and gap year, or should I just keep trying and putting in a little bit of time each day? I need some feedback.
Anyone want to take the part that I will share with you is that when you have a fire, especially for something like a career, you might take a million gap years and you always come back.
Yeah.
You just have to decide how many gap years is enough until you hit go. Because if you've already taken the post back, if you've already decided that it's dentistry, you like there is like reasons and excuses. If you keep trying to find that excuse of why not now, you always continue to find that reason of why not now. And it's important to know that this is now. Because if you push it back another year, what are you going to do to make sure you're not in the same point next year?
Mhm.
And there
Yeah.
is like
I'm
I
sorry.
and if you feel as if you feel any type of way, as I shared, I applied for dental school the first time in 2011. I finally applied and got in in 2021. And I did it like I
And
had
you were about to put that one off too.
yes, and I was about to put it off until somebody called me. Somebody until somebody. I was like, there is a snowstorm, and she's like, you're going to take that DATs. And then
Oh,
and then on the 27th of August, she's like, I haven't seen your confirmation for application yet. I'm like, I think. She's like, you're turning in your application today.
no, it's so true. And she got in. So can I just hop in really, really quick?
Mhm.
Too many gap years can hurt you.
Yeah,
They're gonna
Mhm.
wonder. It's gonna come up in your interview.
every
Unless
time.
you're doing something very specific towards it, you have to be able to back it up. Um, it can't be like, oh, I wasn't sure. I was trying to get my DAT score back up. Or, did you go and do some service in dentistry or got some volunteer service? Or, this year you did the post back, so that's important. But I guess, looking at how your DAT, well, you haven't taken your DAT yet, correct?
Taking
No, so you gotta take the DAT and then let's have that conversation. Yeah, my vote is, it sounds like you're staying on track with your booster. You're gonna do well. I think it's great to take the DAT right on the heels of a post back because it's all fresh in your head and you will score well. And you need to hurry up and do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've been just a little hesitant because I feel like we're working full time. I'm really tired after work.
Mhm.
So it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to put in like an hour sometimes. So I think it's just a mental thing of 1
Mhm.
hour isn't enough a day. So I'm already kind of psyching myself out and saying, like, if I can't put in more than an hour, it's like,
Mhm. And
Can I
and
interject?
yeah, go ahead, Turkey.
You know what? I've been in your shoes before, so pretty much, you're your own worst. You can be your own worst enemy, right? So you need to make up in your mind that, all right, it takes about 2 weeks for it to become a habit. All right, you can do anything you put your mind to. All right, so don't let anything or try to have that doubt or self-doubt, because you're just gonna kid yourself. All right, so you have the ability, and you can make your determination that set aside time, set your alarm. If you need to have a 5, 10, 15-minute break, set that alarm. And then once it goes off, then you make that decision to just sit down and just do whatever you need to do. All right. So I've been there, I've done that. Sheesh, I'm known to failure. You know what? I don't let that stop me. Shoot, you can do it. Right. So buck up. All right. That's what I need to do. All right.
yeah, I really do. I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't psych yourself out because yeah, don't psych yourself out. And especially at the point of like being indecisive, find you an advocate. When you feel like you are not being your best advocate, find you an advocate. Like we have like the mentee group where we have like their study sessions. Find somebody that will call you and wake you up and be like, it's time to study. Because sometimes the difference is accountability.
That's a huge factor. Yeah. Do you have a mentor?
No,
No, she just joined.
Well, okay, we'll get her hooked up.
I will. I will.
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
y'all. Appreciate it. So can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So I have 100 days left on my DAT boot camp booster. And again, with the psych piece, I'm like an hour a day. That's only an 100 hours total. Like, what do you guys think I could do with 100 days, realistically speaking? Because I feel like it's going to take more than 1 hour a day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what do you think I could kind of like?
Isaac,
Isaiah, he's dropped the bomb. There you go.
It depends where your practice scores are at. Like, how are you scoring? And how long have you been studying?
Consistently, I would say about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Practice score wise,
Like,
first one's like 17.
okay. Okay. You've only taken one?
Yeah,
Mm. What's your goal score?
enough to get in. I would say 22, 23.
And you're in the middle of your post back now,
No,
she
so I already
graduated.
graduated.
or
I'm in my gap year right
you
now.
finish?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I'd say just take it. An hour a day though is probably not enough.
It's not enough.
How many hours? Yeah, it's not. It's not gonna be enough.
Stack it on the weekend though, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, an hour during the work week and then bust out 4 to 6 hours on Saturday and Sunday, and that'll bump you up.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the commitment you gotta make. You gotta first stay to the DAT, and then that puts a little fire under you. Because if you've already paid for it, then you won't be like, oh, I'll just study next week, or I'm just tired, you know.
That's true. That's true. Okay. I really appreciate that. I feel a lot motivated because I was dragging. This week drugged me. But I feel
Yeah,
like
and Isaiah too. At what point did you kind of stop the studying and just did like practice tests
Practice
over?
questions.
Like how soon before the
Me,
DAT? Uh-huh.
like 2 weeks. I was taking a practice exam every 3 days for like 2 weeks.
Write that down, everybody. I mean, this man got in 8 schools and then got a scholarship
hey,
off. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever he says, you follow.
So like with the exams, when I saw I started seeing my goal score more frequently when I really got a good handle on how much time I should spend per question
Sure.
in each section. Because I knew that if I spent a certain amount of time per question in each section, then I'm giving myself a fair chance of answering all of the questions on the test. You know, and that's a standardized assessment of my knowledge. I feel
Mhm.
like that makes sense to do when you're taking a standardized exam, you know?
Thank you, Ashleen.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Does anybody else want to share?
Oh, um,
I can share before we end it for tonight. Um, my name is Layla Williams. I graduated May 2023, so I'm in my gap year right now. I'm currently working at a dental office in my hometown. I took the DAT 2 times and I got less than a 17 both times. So right now I'm really trying to figure out how do I learn and what resources are the best for me. So I'm really looking into iPrep, just making that investment because I used DAT Bootcamp the first 2 times and I didn't score too well. So I'm doing a lot of research right now and some soul finding to figure out how to go about it this time.
Sorry, I was trying to. Well, nice to meet you, Layla. And I'm glad to hear that you're not giving up. And I think the plan you've put in place is great, right? You know, you've done something, and so can't repeat the same thing and expect a change. Um, so I just am not as familiar with iPrep, but it does sound like is worth it, right? Um, so I would just kind of start going through the program that they lay out because I think it's pretty structured, correct?
Mhm.
And it sounds like probably though, since you're just getting that started, how are you feeling about waiting a cycle before applying? Or were you trying to get that done and then apply this summer? What are your
I
thoughts there?
wanted to apply this summer because now I feel as though I'm more intentional about it. I felt like as soon as I graduated last year, I was rushing it, like rushing just my time, trying to hurry up and get into dental school where I wasn't really just relaxing and taking my time and stressing myself out. I was, I guess, overstudying. I was working while I was studying as well, both times. And I
Mhm.
just didn't go about it the best way possible, I think. I think this time I'm more intentional, planning, relying
Mhm.
on my resources, not being afraid to ask people for help. And
Good.
so
That's a big one.
That's
I think I'm tapping in more with just being more open and growing as a person.
Mhm.
So that's been helping me a little bit.
And you
I
got
haven't
your.
just
Oh, I apologize.
oh no, it's guys. I haven't decided yet if I'm fully gonna go into it, but I think I'm in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was going to say, if you're looking at all the other factors, like your recommendation letters are secure, your GPA is respectable, um, and you've already had some experience with the DAT, so you know what area you need to work on. It would just see how you're performing on those practice tests once you get started. I prep, yeah. And I like how Isaiah said, what's your goal score? I never really considered that. Like you have something to work towards. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I need to figure out what that is because I was shooting for like 22. That was my perfect score. I really wanted a 22. And when I took my first practice test, I got a 17, but I didn't consistently take those practice tests on boot camp.
Mhm.
It was very sporadic. I was trying to learn everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I had to, this is a standardized test, and I don't need to learn everything, but I definitely need to learn the
Oh,
basis of the subject. And I didn't realize that until last year. after I didn't do well the second time that I was going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. And with IPREP being like a specific 8 weeks, then you could plan out your DAT like 10 weeks out, finish up the course, and then 2 weeks of straight just practice tests. So I would say 10 weeks from today. Go look at the calendar. What's that? Let me look at the calendar right now. Go ahead, someone else add in. I'm going to look at the calendar.
I was going to say something for Ashlyn, also Layla too. Reducing your hours or even taking a break from working. That is an option, even though it may seem impossible, you can still do that. You can, that's still there. And that would give you a lot of time to study.
And I think that will also light the fire, because you think about what you're giving up to study for this. Will make you study a lot harder, because it is very painful to lose out on your paycheck and the DATs.
Yeah.
So do understand that it is an option as well to like, that is why the idea of like budgeting comes in. Like, it is okay as well to sacrifice something for now for like the bigger purpose.
Yeah. And just so you know, it's April 3rd. So April 3rd, if you that, maybe Easter, when is Easter this year? But just look at that. And then, because, we want everyone to be putting in their applications as soon as it opens. That's your best chance. We want to stack everything where you have most likely to be successful. So if you take it in April, you find out you could possibly take one more again, a second, or I know a following time. So then she can get her application in right when it opens.
But then,
I
like,
have a, sorry.
Gabriella, sorry.
I just have a quick question. Do the DAT scores expire? Like, say if I take a DAT like a year before I apply to school, like
So
5 months?
5 years. 5 years. So I took the DATs 2011 and 2012, but they will not consider them because it was over 5 years. I know that because in my case, I was told it has to be over 5 years. So it's only good for 5 years.
It varies by school.
Okay, thank you.
Some schools do longer than 5 years.
No, some schools do shorter.
Oh.
I've seen some schools say they don't want it for 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah, I would say 3 years.
What? Okay, for me, for the schools I applied to, they said 5 years. But I knew I had to take it again because I was applying in 2021 when my last DAT score was from 2012.
Okay.
Gabrielle, do you mind sharing where you are in your dental journey?
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm still a junior in my undergrad, and I probably have maybe a year and a half left. I want to take a gap year so that I can work in an office. I'm gonna start my shadowing hours soon. I was able to, I guess it's not really an internship, but I found an office that I could shadow at. Dr. Worrell hooked me up. So that's really glad. I'm really glad about that. Yes, and then another thing, I wanna be a maxillofacial surgeon. So I would, probably have to go to not dental school, med school. And I don't really know much about that process. For me, in the past, when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to do healthcare. And since I was in literally 5th grade, I was like, I want to be an ER physician. Like, I'm walking around telling like 40-year-olds, I'm going to be an ER physician. But then when I graduated from high school, I was discouraged and I felt like I wouldn't be good enough to get into med school. So I changed my mind and I did dental. And then when I was, my time in college made me realize, like, wow, you short-sighted yourself. You didn't have to do that. And I was still really interested in dental, but I was like, if I do both, so oral maxillofacial, I'll be BMD and MD, and I'll get the best of both worlds, and I'll be doing both of the things that make me happy. So, yeah.
I want to take this.
Go into practice together.
I know, I know. And it's interesting because I am interested in oral maxillofacial surgery as well. But what I would just caution is that as one of our mentors will always say, like, wait for your bricks to set.
Mhm.
Oral and maxillofacial, like every dental school trains you to be a general dentist. Very few, that is why you will struggle to find out the information that is needed because most schools train you to be a general dentist. There is a whole different process that comes with doing oral and maxillofacial surgery. And the idea of doing both, like the medicine and the dental, it's amazing. But do understand that the work to be able to do both is double. Because right now, so usually the path to OMFS is while you're in dental school, you take another exam, which is equivalent to the med school step 1. But understand that your school is training you to be a general dentist, so they've not covered any of that material. So you're finding a way to teach yourself the stuff that the med students have been being taught for the past 2 years. You're learning it on your own to take the same exam, but you're studying on your own on top of your dental school curriculum. However, if it is something that you're interested in, you will make the time and you make the effort. But what I would like to caution is get into the best dental school, especially the ones that have joint programs for med and dental students, and it'll make it so much easier for you. But it is amazing that you're thinking about it now. But understand that the information is very hard to find since most dental schools are training you to be a general dentist, but the information is there. With me being interested in that field, I have been fortunate to meet a lot of people through diversity in dentistry, which is what they have done, and they can give you some feedback. If I do get in, you get all my notes, but but it is another process. It is amazing. However, whoever told you that you cannot get into med school, I know people, just kidding. You can jump them. Do not shortchange yourself because oral surgery it's a possibility. Just understand that it is double the work.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting my charger. That's why my camera's not on right now. But I was just going to say also, in looking at the programs, you might also want to see which dental school maybe has an oral surgery program included. And also plug in before I lose everybody to see what I was going to say. Well, I mean, really, the highly rated schools, because some surgery programs are very selective, and you kind of want to see which schools have the highest, acceptance rates into certain residencies like that. And then there's different programs with oral surgery, the ones that you do get the MD with it versus just the advanced certificate in OMS, like the master's in it. So there's a lot of different things. I think, we just need to get you in touch with some mentors who have gone through that and get more questions answered. But yeah, we love Dr. Worrell. I'm so glad he gave you some advice there too. Yeah, but one step, I think it's great to have the goal, but I didn't even see after I plugged in, I didn't put my camera on. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. To have the goal, but not to lose the trees from the forest. I always mess up when I try to say that, but still taking it step by step. That's the goal, but keep that in mind when you're looking at what dental schools you want to apply to, but then be successful in each step of that, getting through dental school. Yeah. But I think that's great. We need more Black female oral surgeons. For
We
sure.
just need more Black oral surgeons to begin with. This cleft lip and palate is,
Yeah.
that's a topic for another day. Jennifer, if you don't mind, if you do mind, I totally understand it's late.
Hi, so I graduated from my undergrad 2021. So I finished college when COVID happened, so that was pretty rough. Um, so there were some science classes that I didn't do so hot in, so then I took some of those classes again at community college, and then after that year, I did a year at a post-bac. So I finished that in June. And then in November of last year, I took the DAT. So I'm still like a recent person that finished it. And then right now I've just been volunteering and shadowing. So I do plan to apply in June. So I already did my personal statement and now I'm working on the experiences section. But yeah, that's currently my journey right now. I'm doing my final gap year.
Don't forget to request your letters of recommendations early.
Yes, so my postbac program actually offers a committee letter.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm in that process. So I'll be getting that done. I already asked the professors to write their letters for that packet.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have they do a committee interview, so I have that next month. So
Okay. Schedule it
totally
early
getting the
because
ball rolling so far, yeah.
yeah, schedule that early because they usually get backed up around April.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
And I just want to share this with Ashlyn. It can be overwhelming, but as I will share often, starting is the hardest part. I was I know I've shared this several times. Like I went online because I could not find help. I could not find direction. I went online. I went to some Facebook group. I forget what it was called. It was Black Dentist something. And I'm like, hi, everyone. I'm a 35-year-old mother of 3 boys and I want to go to dental school. And everyone told me to stick to my job. Yes. But I was fortunate enough to run into some people that were like, you can do this. And it was because everyone was like, how are you going to study with 3 boys with a full-time job? And you graduated school 15 years ago. How are you even going to start? But the hardest part is starting. So long as you have it in you that that is what you wanted to do, because I was finally at the point where I thought I was comfortable. I was like, yeah, I remember when I wanted to be a dentist. I'm going to go be a dentist. The hardest part is starting. But so long as you have it in you that that is what you want to do, don't let anything stop you. Don't let the age, the time, anything, like don't let anything stop you. Because if you are a betting person, I'm not, but if I had to bet, I'm betting on me. Like I'm betting on me moving any barrier in my face, like I'm betting on me. So don't think about what time it will take. Don't think about how do I even start this. Just know that you are able to do it and do it.
Yeah. Thank you. I just was gonna let you guys, Gabrielle know. I put that link in the chat for the
Mhm.
residencies, and you'll see program type, and I'll say dual or single.
You know,
So if you really want the MD DDS, look at that. Look for that. Okay. And usually it's gonna be like your bigger state schools.
Mhm.
Of that. Otherwise, it's going to be like a hospital-based residency and usually those surgery residencies are in urban, busy
Area.
metropolitan. That's so that you can get the emergency experience and trauma and that kind of stuff.
And then just
Thank you. I'm taking a look at it right now.
Great.
and yeah,
now.
just understand that it is being in dental school and grinding just as you're grinding to get into dental school.
Mm-hmm.
And I will
Ongoing
also share,
grind.
yeah, and I will also share that the same way you can take a gap year after college, you could also take time off before applying for OMFS. So
Mm-hmm.
as you plan, give yourself as much grace as you give everybody else. Because we all give everybody too much grace.
Yeah. Military is a good one too.
Mhm.
Right.
That's the one I'm actually most interested in. And again, I want to talk to Dr. Worrell about that a lot
Yeah.
more because I know that they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is great. Well, I want to be
Okay,
respectful of
I'll
everyone's
stop.
time. We better end
I'll
up.
stop, I'll stop recording.
Come back next month.